Bitter criticism afternoon. If you can believe this is afternoon. There was a band of Spanish band that made a song about the weather in Galicia in Spain, and they made a cover from I don't remember the Sweet Home Alabama, and but they changed the lyrics. They changed the lyrics and they sang Minha tierra galega donde el cielo es siempre gris. They said that Galicia were always gray, like this. And if you never experienced this is fine, because it's cool. There's not too much sun, and it's fine. The cloudy weather is fine. So tonight, or this afternoon, we have finally we have Iranian news. See, this channel is getting even worse. We're gonna read Iranian news. And that's why the jersey. This jersey is from a Palestinian club here in Chile. So we have news from Palestine. I will read some news from Palestine, and then I will read some another news. Zionists bewildered by Islamic convergence. Iran FM. But well, this is from IRNA. IRNA.er. News from Iran. This is called the Islamic Republic News Agency from 1934, pretty old, which make me think that I know nothing about Iranian history. I don't know nothing what happened since last century, from 100 years ago. But this, I don't know. I don't even know if they were Islamic since that time, 1934. Well, I'm very ignorant, I'm sorry. Anyway, Zionists bewildered by Islamic convergence. Iran FM. Tehran, IRNA. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian has reacted to the Zionist regime's attack on Palestinian worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque, saying that the wave of convergence in the Islamic world has confused the Zionists. Amir Abdollahian tweeted on Thursday that the sacrilege and night raid by military forces of the fake Zionist regime against worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque brought about painful scenes, which are aftermath of the behavior of those who claim that they are advocating human rights, while they close their eyes when it comes to crimes committed by the Zionist terrorists. The Zionists are bewildered by the wave of convergence in the Islamic world, as well as the outlook of the internal collapse of the regime, the Iranian foreign minister underscored. News sources reported on Wednesday night that the Zionist troops raided Al-Aqsa Mosque once more and beat Palestinian worshippers, and even tried to expel the Palestinians from the Holy Mosque. Palestinian Red Crescent Society declared that a number of Palestinians have been injured following the raid, but the Zionist troops did not allow medical staff to enter the holy site. The Zionist regime's police announced that they arrested 10 Palestinian people at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Some Palestinian sources reported that more than 200 worshippers have been wounded and 400 others have been nabbed, which I don't know what it is. Nabbed. Don't sound great. I'm sorry. Anyway, I have news from other sites. Like I have some news from this Islamic Republic news agency, and we have another news from the, well, I have another jerseys too. Just to make this how to say, this journal, this is like a journal, you know, but I'm using this like a training, English training, just me and the YouTube subtitles. Iran letter to UN wraps Zionist killing of 2 military advisors in Syria. People forgot about Syria. New York, IRNA, Iran's permanent representative to the United Nations, Amir Sayed Iravani, has sent a letter to top UN officials on the recent martyrdom of 2 Iranian military advisors in a Zionist terrorist attack in Syria, saying that the crime is a flagrant violation of international law. Well, the news from IRNA are, I guess, are pretty like this, you know, with this denouncing Zionist crimes. The Iranian ambassador wrote his letter to the UN Secretary General and the head of the Security Council, the full text of which is as follows: Excellency, on instructions from my government, I would like to inform you that 2 Iranian military advisors, Major Milad Eidari and Captain Mekdad Mahkani Jafarabad, who served as advisors to Syria forces fighting terrorism, were martyred in the recent Israeli regime terrorist attacks launched on Damascus and its suburbs on 31 March 2023, 8 days ago. These terrorist attacks also resulted in the tragic loss of innocent civilians' lives and severe damage to Syria's infrastructure. This, beyond those crimes, is yet another illustration of the Israeli regime's ongoing aggression and flagrant violation of the international law on Syrian territory. Furthermore, Israelis' acts of aggression against Syria continue unabated, without facing any consequences from the international community, particularly the United Nations Security Council, and being able to act with impunity. The Israeli regime has flagrantly violated the basic rules of international humanitarian law in recent months, and its military strikes have systematically and deliberately targeted Syria's critical infrastructure, including the international civilian airports of Damascus and Aleppo, which are critical lifelines for humanitarian supply and relief efforts In the aftermath of Syria's recent tragic earthquake, Israel's aggression causes significant material damage to Syria's critical infrastructure. Given the serious repercussions of such unlawful and criminal acts for regional and international peace and security, as well as the grave challenges of the rule of law, the United Nations Security Council must take advised action to end these violations and hold the Israeli regime accountable for all its internationally wrongful acts. The Security Council must not be complicit in double standards and must carry out its mandate by explicitly condemning the Israeli regime's ongoing violation of fundamental principles of the international law and the United Nations character. Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected, and actions that undermine them must not be tolerated. The Islamic Republic of Iran has made it clear that time and again that it will not hesitate to take the necessary measures in accordance with international law and the United Nations Charter to respond decisively to any threat or attack posed by the Israeli regime and to defend its security and national interests, as well as to protect its people. I will be grateful if you will circulate the present letter as a document of the Security Council. Please accept, Excellency, the assurances of my highest consideration. Well, I'll tell you. Amir Saeb Iravani writes very well. Oh, I missed the garbage collection, but I have none. So it's kind of, well, again, Amir Said Iravani writes very well, isn't it? He was a very good student. and I have some news from Palestine again, but all these news I just read are from Islamic Republic News Agency, and it is going well, isn't it? Good news. I mean, critical news. Yeah, they are critical. This is what I need. Bitter criticism. It's not bitter, but yeah, it is bitter for the West. And we don't have the author of the. Even Russia Today is not putting the name of the journalist. They just, in this case of IRNA, they put some codes, some numbers that maybe, I don't know what's that. Maybe that's the number of the journalists. Who knows? Well, it's getting warmer here. Oh, it's too warm. Oh, yeah, this is the Iranian jersey. And that's it. I like a little performance from irna.er. I had 10 times here too, but I lost the 10 times news. I just lost it. When I have CGTN news too from China. I'm gonna read some news from CGTN without the name of the journalist, just regular news. Israel calls on UN to condemn Lebanon and Hamas over rocket fire. CGTN. Israel on Friday called on the EU, the UN Security Council to issue a condemnation against Lebanon and Hamas, a Palestinian armed movement ruling the Gaza Strip, for recent rocket fire against Israel. The Jerusalem Post reported on Friday. Israel on Thursday accused Hamas of being behind a rocket attack launched at northern Israel from Lebanon. Israel's foreign ministry said it reached out to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. I thought it was Gutierrez. Anyway, Guterres and called for condemnation from the UN Security Council. The Lebanese Foreign Ministry's media office earlier declared that Lebanon will file a complaint with the United Nations against Israel's airstrikes at dawn on areas in southern Lebanon. Yeah, this is from CGTN from China. It's from today, April 7. And looks like China, maybe China support the Arab world, even, I don't know. Looks like they do. And just to diversify, we're gonna read Russia Today again. Because we just read some news from Iran, and now we are reading news from China and now from Russia. We have a news from a Brazilian news from Russia Today. Look, just a second. Look, Brazil from Russia Today, April 7th. Brazil blasts West over role in Ukraine conflict. The US and the EU should have given diplomacy a chance before rushing into war, Lula has claimed. Yeah, maybe they're absolutely right. Neither Ukraine nor Russia can achieve every goal they have set in their conflict, but they need a mediator to facilitate peace talks, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has told journalists. The EU and the US were too quick to back Kiev instead of trying to de-escalate the situation, he added. It is not necessary to have a war, Lula said on Thursday during a media breakfast at the Palácio do Planalto, the official presidential workplace. He also criticized the US and its allies for their role in the conflict. We think that the developed world, especially the EU and the US, had the option to not enter the war the way they did, so fast, without spending time trying to negotiate, he explained. Negotiating peace is very complicated. The Brazilian leader is set to travel next week to China, a nation with a similar position on Ukraine to his own. He said he hoped that these contacts with President Xi Jinping will help bring about a conversation that we should have had a year ago. India and Indonesia may have a role too, he added. But looks like I'm commenting this. Looks like India and Indonesia are like, I don't know. They are not. They haven't. They don't have a strong position against West, isn't it? Explaining his view on how the hostilities could end, he suggested that the status of Crimea should be excluded from the discussion, but stressed that Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot keep the land in Ukraine. Well, citizens in Crimea voted in 2014 to break away from Ukraine and rejoin Russia after an armed coup in Kiev. A similar drive for independence arose in Donetsk and Lugansk regions, but Moscow urged the breakaway Donbass to remain part of Ukraine. Kiev deployed military force in an attempt to quash the rebellion, but failed. Moscow has cited continued Ukrainian military attacks against the then self-proclaimed Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, as well as Kiev's stonewalling of a EU brokered reconciliation plan as the key reasons for the deployment of troops against Ukraine in February 2022. Well, this part is from Russia Today. Anyway, later in the year, the two Donbass regions along the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions held referendums on rejoining Russia. Kiev dismissed the ballots, which voted to rejoin as sham, but Moscow said the status of its new parts is not subject to negotiation. Lula believes that Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky can win everything either. Kiev has declared a military victory over Russia and a return of all lands, including Crimea, as preconditions for entering peace talks. Lula is right, Zelensky will not achieve this, I don't know, Russia and in NATO are on the verge of war. Maybe, who knows what's gonna happen. I guess Russia will win because they have gas. Russia will win because they have oil. And the EU region is lacking on everything. I will show you. Even agricultural sector is suffering right now. So Europe is losing this battle. Look, another from Russia Today. Eastern European farmers protest over Ukrainian grain. Cheaper imports are undercutting domestic agricultural prices, causing financial distress. But this is from Eastern Europe. Well, Eastern Europe was since long time ago, since the breakthrough from the USSR, since the end of it's been a pretty bad region, a pretty depressed region. Thousands of Bulgarians and Romanian farmers blocked borders crossings into Ukraine on Friday in protest against cheap Ukrainian grain that has been flooding their markets. Bulgarian national radio reported on Friday. And Poland too, isn't it? Do you remember? Poland, Bulgaria, and Romania. Brussels permitted duty-free agricultural imports from the war-torn nation last year to help Kiev reach its markets in Africa and Middle East. However, much of the grain has been stuck in Eastern Europe. The National Association of Grain Producers started a 4-hour protest in the Bulgarian town of Rus and Kardam. The rally has been coordinated with agricultural organizations in Romania, which are standing walkouts in a number of locations across the country. Farmers throughout Western Europe are blaming a drop in prices for domestic grain on the inflow of huge amounts of Ukrainian grain that was initially expected to go to Africa and the Middle East. Well, this is bad, but I guess the agricultural sector is not so important even in Bulgaria, isn't it? So I guess this don't gonna stop NATO, the Bulgarian farmers. But I will keep reading anyway. The National Association of Grain Producers started a 4-hour protest. This I just read it. Farmers throughout Eastern Europe are blaming a drop in prices for domestic grain on the inflow of huge amounts of Ukrainian grain that was initially expected to go to Africa and Middle East. Agricultural produce from Ukraine became cheaper as it was harder to sell further afield. The EU also lifted duties of Ukraine's agricultural exports, sending prices plummeting and forcing local producers to struggle in the face of unfair competition. According to the head of the Bulgarian Association of Grain Producers, Lia Bradanov, some 3.5 million tons of Bulgarian wheat and over 1 million tons of sunflower seeds are sitting in warehouses at the moment, as the nation's farmers cannot sell their crops and are suffering massive losses. Romanian and Bulgarian farmers are urging Brussels to not extend the duty-free status of Ukrainian agricultural goods without regulations such as quotas, anti-dumping duties, and import deposit fees to limit excessive inflows. According to the demonstrators, removing import tariffs and agricultural trade barriers with Ukraine should have been a joint EU commitment, but member states geographically close to the country have so far seen only a negative impact from that support. Last week, Bulgarian farmers blocked roads in the northeastern part of the country, demanding that an EU regulation exempting Ukrainian grain from import duties not be extended to Bulgaria. On March 30, the European Commission said it has approved an aid package for 56 million euros, which is $61 million, to support farmers in frontline countries who have to deal with the consequences of a large amount of agricultural and food products from Ukraine coming into the bloc. Well, I guess nobody cares about I guess what this is a bitter criticism. I guess all the Bulgarian farmers, what they want is to move to Nordic countries. Nobody wants to stay in the country. But if you like country, this is so bad for you, for Bulgarian people, isn't it? But I don't know. Well, the good news from this article is that they did something for Africa, isn't it? Because Africa will be starving without this Ukrainian agricultural from Ukraine. Anyway, we're gonna read more news from Iran, and we have a news here from what's going on from France and China. This is from Islamic Republic news agency, the IRNA, from 1934. almost 100 years ago. A very old journal. China, France, China, China, France support restoration of talks to lift sanctions on Iran. Well, look, this is a pretty interesting news. Look, Tehran, IRNA. Following French President Emmanuel Macron's state visit on Beijing, China and France issued a joint statement on Friday in which they supported the political and diplomatic talks to lift sanctions on Iran. The statement announced that the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and the permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany, was an important achievement in the field of multilateral diplomacy. This statement is also said that France and China were determined to find a diplomatic and political solution to solve Iran's nuclear issue. According to the joint statement, Beijing and Paris adhere to the non-proliferation regime without undermining the UN Security Council resolutions. French President Emmanuel Macron is on his visit to China, where we're taking advance of the simultaneous presence of the high-ranking delegations of the two countries in China. Iran Foreign Minister Hossein this will be hard, Amiradolayan, and his French counterpart Catherine Colonna, this will easy, met on Thursday evening. Yeah, great, isn't it? I don't know. Looks like Emmanuel Macron is getting a pretty hard time, isn't it? Domestically because of protests, and geopolitically because of NATO, isn't it? NATO is not good for anybody. For France, look, they are ruining everything. They're ruining the. You know who is behind this? The British, the US. So Europe is declining, but looks like Macron is trying to, I don't know if France gonna exit NATO, but it's politics, It's pretty awkward, we are in an age of hypocrisy, France is part of NATO, but they need China and Russia, so they do everything. They fight Russia and they are friend of Russia in the same time. This is an hypocrisy times. If the hypocrisy is not always, it's not been the always tendency, isn't it? Well, another use from IRNA, and this is the same story. French, Iran FMs. I don't know what FMs mean. What is FMs meet in Beijing? Stress suspension of ties. Tehran, IRNA, Iran Foreign Minister Hossein. This is pretty hard. Look, Hossein Amiradolayan and his French counterpart Catherine Colonna met in Beijing on Thursday evening, taking advantage of the simultaneous presence of the high-ranking delegations of the two countries in China. I will search for North Korea news. North Korea. I will say that it's a narco country because of North Korea. sorry. No. Sorry. Please don't nuke me. North Korea cannot nuke Chile. We are safe here. They cannot nuke South America. Various issues of bilateral relations and regional and international issues of common interest were discussed and exchanged. The two sides also conferred on some consular issues and emphasized the necessity of mutual respect and continuation of joint dialogues. Colonna is accompanying French President Emmanuel Macron on his visit to China. The Saudi and Iranian foreign ministers held talks in the Chinese capital and signed a joint statement on Thursday morning. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Nakaani has announced that Riyadh and Tehran resumed official diplomatic ties on Thursday. Who is Nasser Nakaani? Oh, I don't know, this is kind of a mess. Well, I'm sorry, but this news is kind of mess. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanaani has announced that Riyadh and Tehran, which is Riyadh? Well, I'm ignorant. I don't know where Riyadh is. Oh, Saudi, yeah. Oh, this is a great news. I think I have this news here. Look, Saudi Arabia, Iran resume official relations. Again from IRNA. And this is great, you can say I'm crazy because of reading some news, but the world is changing. Maybe 5 years ago, Saudi Arabia was a US ally. It was a US ally, like it was an exclusive ally from US, isn't it? Saudi Arabia. And now they have relations with Iran. This is huge. This news is from yesterday, April 6th. And here we have a photograph with an Arab guy, a Saudi Arab guy with this kitchen, with this kitchen thing on his head. I'm sorry. This picnic thing, this picnic fabric on his head. Well, I'm sorry. And we have Iranian people in the same photograph. Yeah. Beijing. They are in Beijing. Look, this is very huge. Look, with what is happening in Beijing with France, Saudi Arabia, Iran. Everybody's in China. That is great. This is like The Godfather 4. Yeah, this is huge. This is the Godfather 4, isn't it? Everybody's in China doing business with Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping is the Godfather. Yeah. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanaani has announced that Riyadh and Tehran resumed official diplomatic ties on Thursday 5th. Kanaani, who is accompanying Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Hossein Amirabdollahian. Fine. In the visit to Beijing, told correspondents on Thursday that in the line with negotiations between Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia and Iran, the two sides underlined the importance of stability and security in the region, as well as the maintenance of security by the regional players. According to the spokesman, Iranian Foreign Ministry Hossein Amirabdollahian, you didn't expect for that, isn't it? Amirabdollahian and his Saudi counterpart Faisal bin Farham Al Saud have expressed the readiness on their countries to implement basic agreements existing between the two sides, including a comprehensive accord on mutual cooperation and a security agreement. So they agreed upon taking steps in this respect gradually. He went on to say that the Saudi and Iranian sides negotiated on expansion of economics exchanges in both public and private sectors, and that they underlined that the existing contracts between the two states paved the legal way for initiating and improving such activities. Private and public delegations from both countries are scheduled to hold talks on the expansion of trade, economic and investment cooperation, he said, adding that Riyadh and Tehran have reached a consensus to facilitate aerial transportation between Saudi Arabia and Iran following meetings between technical delegations of both sides. They also plan to facilitate issuing visas and other related services to the nationals of both states to carry out economic and trade exchanges, as well as Umrah pilgrimage. That was unexpected. Well, maybe they have Kahani noted. Maybe they do have some cultural ties, isn't it? I don't know. As well as Umrah pilgrimage. What the hell is? Oh, I'm sorry. Umrah. It could be a great experience to pilgrimage around Saudi Arabia or Iran, I guess. But I guess it's dangerous now, isn't it? Iran is dangerous, but because of the U.S., you know. Anyway, the Saudi and Iranian foreign minister. Well, I'm atheist, you know. That's why I'm saying that it will be interesting, because I don't believe in Allah and nothing. I'm nihilist. The Saudi and Iranian foreign minister held talks in Chinese capital today. Then their joint statements was signed in the presence of their Chinese counterpart on Thursday morning. Riyadh and Tehran agreed to reopen embassies and consulates and expressed readiness to remove obstacles in the way of improving collaborations. Senior Saudi and Iranian officials had held talks in Beijing in March. They signed an accord to restore diplomatic ties following a China-brokered negotiations. Well, this is I like it. INRA.er. I will sign INRA. It's a good news. It's I don't know. It's a positive news. Of course, the US didn't like this news, isn't it? But who cares? I will read just one more news from IRNA. The Islamic Republic News Agency from 1934, almost 100 years ago. Supreme leader from the Iran. Well, I saw a video once from Iran status quo, and they have like a supreme leader like this, like a religious leader, and they elect the president. It's like a theocracy, yeah. It is a theocracy, but they are people anyway, you know. They don't deserve war. Nobody deserves war. They want to pilgrimage, you know. They want to pilgrim to Saudi Arabia, and that's what they want. Supreme leader, West not worthy on talking about human rights. Yeah, that was tough. Look, I will read it again. Supreme leader, West not worthy of talking about human rights. That's the sad truth. Tehran, IRNA. Supreme leader of Iran's Republic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has criticized Western states of their disrespect for human rights, describing them as enemies of humankind. Yeah. Bitter criticism. I will definitely subscribe IRNA The leader the leader made the comment in a meeting with a group of Iranian poets and Persian literature academics in Tehran on Wednesday. Here is the full text of Ayatollah Khamenei's remarks, which has published on his official website, Khamenei.ir. I like it. The supreme leader have a site. I guess he is from he has born in August. Well, I will leave here the news. This is just the comments. I definitely will come back to read more about IRNA. And here in Chile, I don't know, everybody in Chile, I guarantee you, they think Iranian people are all terrorists. They don't know about the Shita, the Asian Shita. Look. They don't know about the Iranian Shita. I want to know about the Iranian Shita. I hope they are fine, recovering. I don't know. Iran is a pretty arid, desertic country, isn't it? I hope the best for the Shiitas there, because they have no food, isn't it? There's no prey. I know nothing. Don't know nothing about Shita. Well, I have my own Shita. Look, Milu, you're a Shita boy. Yeah. You have to see Milu running. He's absolutely a Shita. Well, that's it. News from Global South, from Bitter News. Bitter criticism.